Welcome to the Therapist Burnout Podcast, episode 88. Hey, therapist, welcome back to the program. Yeah. Today, I am going to talk a little bit about burnout basics. So, it's been a while since I revisited this question. What is therapist burnout? And I think it's evolved, it's changed in I think at the time is this recording nearly 2 years of podcasting on therapist burnout. So I have some unique insights into talking to, I think, hundreds, I can say, of therapists at this point about their burnout symptoms, getting emails, just having conversations, experiencing my own burnout. And I have a little lasagna metaphor for you because we're therapists, right? Or you're a therapist. And I'm a former therapist currently. But I think the metaphor of what are the layers? Because we know there are multiple layers in therapist burnout and it's different. And I think when I was first experiencing it, I didn't really understand what I was experiencing internally, which I now know for therapists, especially, is really normal. I think we fail to act on our body's information that is constantly screaming at us if we are likely in burnout. So I think I wanted to do this again because I get pings from therapists. I read threads of therapists who say, I feel tired. I can't do this anymore. I don't even want to see the clients I like. I read one post, it was an anonymous post, but someone had said the flower has faded or the rose is wilting. Like I used to love this career, but now I find no joy in it. Even with people I love and enjoy, I don't enjoy it anymore. And I resent the time that I spend with them. And that scares most therapists when they tell me that. They're like, what does that even mean? But it's very common. So I think just first, we feel better when we know we're not alone. When what we're experiencing, we can normalize. You know this as the provider. You normalize symptoms of trauma. You normalize symptoms of depression. But I think when we are the ones that are experiencing these problems, it doesn't feel normal because we don't talk in open forums about it, except for therapist Facebook groups, which are toxic. So I would love to, I think, have a community where it is supportive for therapists. And I'm not sure what that looks like yet because I am always figuring out my capacity and my bandwidth for holding things, which honestly is just reduced since I experienced extreme burnout in the years of 2020 to 2024. If I'm quite honest, I think 2025 has been feeling like I'm coming out of it. Let's just say until a few months ago. I have been struggling with the impacts of burnout for a long time. Let's go through it. Before I jump into that, I had a reflection from today. So I have been dealing with a low back problem for about a month now. So I had a PT appointment today. I've been dealing with low back pain for over a month, and it really has not lifted very well. I've been dealing with a low back problem since I had my second son and I played tennis. Probably, I would say 6 months after he was born. And I went up for a serve, came down for the serve on my tennis stroke, and I could not get up. Like I had the moment where I had fallen and I couldn't get up, literally when I was in my mid 30s. And for me, I have not experienced that type of debilitating back pain ever before. I mean, pregnancy and birthing children was another type of pain, but I think more of a chronic pain, right? A chronic thing that I've dealt with. And I don't think I played tennis for probably like 6 months to a year after that incident. And my body definitely remembers that. My body, like when I feel little tweaks in my back, I get really concerned. Is this going to be a long injury? Like, will I not be able to play tennis? Will I not be able to do the things I want to do? And I think it's just such a metaphor for we can do a lot of good things. Like I was doing all the right things. I've been trying to take care of myself, but there were just circumstances that happened this summer. We went on a cruise. I was sleeping on a bed that I don't normally sleep on. we went camping and I slept on like an air mattress and I had to sleep a certain way so the full moon like didn't get into blaring into my eyeball. And so I woke up, with not feeling very well from sleeping and I was canoeing sitting upright. That did not feel great on the back. And I thought I was better. I really thought I was better. And I went up for a clean and snatch. So if you don't weight lift, I love to lift heavy and I like to sometimes like do a clean and snatch. So it's like you're kind of in the squatting position and you take a weight like really strong overhead. I feel very powerful. I love to do it. And my back was just like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Like, what are you doing here? This is ridiculous. And then I just felt really acute pain at that point and have been in PT for over a month. And I felt better last week. I was like, I am on the mend. And here I was again. Yesterday, I walked up. I work in a school. I walked up to work with a student. I'm sitting at the desk with the student. I get up and it's like tight again. And I have no idea like what's going on. Like, why is this happening? And I think psychologically, we also have these difficulties that are so layered. And my back injury is multiple systems in my back. So it's probably coming from my spine. But, my PT was getting into my piriformis muscle, which is in your glutes, and the surrounding muscle and tissue all around that. Like everything is like inflamed back there. And it's caused by this one issue, but it's then causing multiple things to occur in my body that need attention at the same time. And I feel like therapist burnout is a little multi-layered in that way. And I think we struggle to know what to do first. And when we feel that sense of panic, we feel like, okay, I can't do anything. I can't do the things that I want to do. I'm not living the life I want to live. And this is a small example of just a physical injury that I have. But I was telling my PT, I felt better. And so I did my normal weight training routine, which includes squatting and hinging and rowing and lifting heavy weights. And it felt good in the moment. And then this happened yesterday where I flared again and I just felt like I was in the same place and I'm all the way back to zero. And I think a lot of this way, with burnout symptoms, with feeling like, what do I even tackle first? And I think having the support of my PT just tell me, it's okay. Like you're going to get through this there's things you can actually do. So let's focus on not aggravating the things that are making your back really angry, which is for my back specifically, that's doing a hinge. And that means I can't do my yoga routine, which I really love to. So I definitely feel like poor baby. And I am not feeling great, but psychologically I'm actually feeling pretty good. So that's good. I flossed today, so that's a win. Yeah. So I think looking at the layers of burnout can be really helpful. So let's just go start with what is burnout as defined by ICD-11. So burnout is defined as an occupational phenomenon, not a mental illness. That is key, caused by chronic workplace stress that isn't managed well. I just have a problem with that. It isn't managed well. Like we are failing because we're not managing our burnout, which is the implicit message. Well, it's not really that implicit in that definition. So already right there, we're starting off bad, right? Something that we are doing wrong. And that's the same thing that I think through my back pain, right? Like I didn't manage this injury well this week. I took that on to my personhood. I'm a personal trainer. Like I know what to do. Why can I not figure this out? Why can I get myself out of pain? Similarly, as mental health professionals, we know what to do. We know what to do. Like, why is this happening? How did I get here? Is this what am I experiencing? I was in that same doubt. So the ICD-11 talks about three core symptoms. Those are exhaustion, mental distance or cynicism from the job, and reduced professional effectiveness. Think that can translate to personal effectiveness at times, certainly. But it really only scratches the surface of what the phenomenon that we call therapist burnout which I really think it is a multi-layered phenomenon due to our work. So let's dig into that. So we have it's a heavy metaphor, so stick with me on my heavy metaphor but it's sticky. Sticky things in our brain do help us remember things. They do help it get in. So I see the exhaustion that therapists experience, and I'm calling that really like the foundation of your burnout. You're doing too much. And that is why the first step to recovery is do less. Like simply, you have to do less things in your whole entire life. That might mean fewer clients, that might mean fewer tasks. In your personal life, you have to do less. So, the foundation of burnout, you're drained, running on fumes, and rest never feels like enough. People will tell me I've taken vacation. It really doesn't matter. I still feel horribly depleted when I come back because you haven't changed the input. The input, the inputs are still too much. And so something has to come out. Number one, we're calling those the noodles because it's just the building blocks. Layer two, a fun one, anger and resentment. That's like that sauce that's spreading everywhere into everything. It looks like irritability. Like, I don't know if this has happened to you, but you're almost like snapping at your clients in your head. Like you don't say it out loud, but sometimes you're like, I'm going to slip one day and just tell this person, like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Let's do some of the things that we're talking about. Feeling hostile towards insurance, towards your paperwork. I definitely had a situation when I wasn't getting paid and I called a payer and I lost my literal shit on the person that was on the phone. I apologized, but I was just like, I don't even know what I said, but I was crying and screaming, which is my tendency. I get angry, sad angry, like crying angry, like, why? It is just like tears and like, it's nasty, but that's how it shows up for me. And it can leak into everything. So, especially for those clients where it is hard to show up, and that is no fault of their own. That is just their quote unquote presentation. Some clients are more difficult for us to deal with, whether it be the clinical material that triggers us, or that is just kind of what they're bringing into the room. And I think when we're in burnout and when that anger and resentment increases, then we're more prone to snap. And we're also more prone to snap with the people in our lives. And I saw this happen in my mothering. So I was definitely more prone to snap with my kids. So it may not come out in your clinical work. It may be more like, I don't want to do that. I don't like this session. I would notice that more in body symptoms, which I'll get to later about what showed up for me there specifically. Layer three is I don't care anymore. Like I hear this all the time from therapists, which feels scary, is a symptom of, we're calling that the cheese, right? It's just kind of melting into everything. I don't care. Like I don't care anymore. Like I have lost that genuine caring that I used to have that I felt like was core to who I was. It's gone. Like I just don't feel that. And I really feel like that is some depersonalization. That is your nervous system in survival mode. If you've been in fight or flight, caring constantly, then you don't have that capacity because you're not in rest and digest. You're not in that place of being curious. And as a new therapist, as a therapist, when I was in training, I really felt like, oh, I'm so curious about my clients and like how I can help them. And I feel like when we're constantly outputting and maybe not looking at, is that exchange working for me and the client, then I think that's where it sticks. I would say the fact that it scares you tells me that you do care, but you're noticing the gap between your ability to care and what you can actually do. So I think that's actually a good sign that you're having that insight that I don't like that. I want to care. I want to show up in my other relationships, in my family relationships. in my friend relationships as someone who cares for the people in my life and not feel like in my personal life I'm turtle heading or hiding from difficult situations or if people need me because that's my life. This is the one life I have. And the most important people to me are my family or my friends. So I think the stakes are huge here. So clinical grief is something I've talked about on this podcast a number of times. And I think that's like the hidden filling or like the secret sauce that we forget about, that we don't talk about, that we ignore. And those are those losses that we carry without rituals when a client dies, when a client ghosts us, when a long-term therapy relationship ends suddenly. And that grief is stored inside of us because we don't have a ritual. We don't have the witnessing that we have typically in grief, where someone will see our grief, will see us suffering and struggling, and will be able to offer comfort or just notice that we are having that struggle. Another layer, which I'm calling the spicy layer, is vicarious trauma. So that is the trauma material that we take into our nervous system and it follows us after, which can turn into legitimate PTSD symptoms or secondary traumatic stress that will disrupt your worldview. And I had a situation acutely where I had intrusive images, thoughts. I had a hypervigilance around a specific case that was very disturbing and I needed my own trauma work. It was brief, I think, because it didn't touch into other parts of my trauma network specifically. It was specific to that client's material, but I was unprepared for my personal reaction as a newer therapist. The moral injury layer or the bitter bite. I think this is just the part that puts a bad taste in our mouth. It's almost like if someone, this is actually a funny story. So my mother-in-law, I don't know maybe this is true. Someone tell me if this is true. So she believes or had read somewhere that if you cover like a lasagna with foil, something in the tomatoes interact with the foil. And so you need to cover it with plastic and then the foil. And then she would freeze it and then sometimes bring over, which was nice of her to do, bring over a dish and there would be plastic on it underneath the foil. But we're thinking, put it in the oven, it has foil on it. And it's got plastic in it. It is inedible, but on the surface it looks fine, right? So moral injury is when you're forced to work in a system that betray your values. And this would be something like having to discharge someone too early because of insurance, watching children get failed by the foster care system. I was a foster care caseworker and is why I left. I just could not see it and be complicit in it anymore. It's really feeling like you're part of the harm and it cuts deeper than exhaustion and it really strikes at your identity and your ethics and what you believe. And I think there was a layer of this for me with regard to what happened in the pandemic politically with clients. And I was functioning at that time as a Christian psychologist and had a mismatch in values between some of my clients who had more of a conservative or evangelical worldview. Some did not see it that way and did not bring that into session. And I really had to reckon with I can't be complicit and this is unsettling to me and these values are unsettling to me. And then that impacted my worldview and my faith that I haven't really talked much about that on the podcast, but I think those are the implications, right? They kind of change, they have us reckon with our value system and how we're seeing things. Layer 8, we're going to call some body-based symptoms. So those are like those burnt edges. No one wants that little burn-up piece of noodle or lasagna on the side. It's like we cut out all that stuff. But we can't cut it out forever because it just if you leave a lasagna in the oven too long, it's just like a hard, rubbery, disgusting mess. I've tried to eat overcooked lasagna. The sauce is all dried up. It just discolors everything. All these food metaphors. It's having me think of so last Thanksgiving, my uncle burnt the stuffing. I know we're out of lasagna now, but I'm coming back to it. My uncle burnt the stuffing and decided to still serve it. I was like, "Oh, it was just one part of it." The whole like container of stuffing taste of just smoke. And so when I put it on my plate, it was into everything. Like it discolored my whole meal. I was like eating this angry Thanksgiving plate. I see what he was trying to do there. He felt really strongly about his stuffing and wanted it to be saved, but you just need to take the L sometimes, right? You just need to take the L, throw the whole thing out. And okay, back to lasagna. So burn edges. So that shows up in our body like migraines, chest tightness, stomach issues, disrupted sleep. Your nervous system is waving a red flag. Hello, we cannot do this. And for women, especially, and research is showing this more and more, that we continue to give and give and give and give and give until we are burnt and we have nothing left to give. And we need to just say, we are done and we cannot give anymore. And I think the last layer I want to just touch on, and all of these are full podcast episodes that I've talked about throughout my 2 years in talking to you about therapist burnout. This one is huge. This one is the cheese on top. Burnout will whisper, you are a bad therapist. You can't hack it. And that is that shame layer that seals the whole bad lasagna, making it impossible to feel like you can make it better, that you can improve, that where do I even start? I mean, kind of going back to this metaphor of me with dealing with this chronic issue with my back, like nothing seems to be helping. I keep trying things, I keep doing things, but nothing has seemed to push the needle forward. And I think the translation of what happens is, and when I talked about in episode 70, check that episode out. Burnout just doesn't stay at work as a therapist. It bleeds into our lives. It bleeds into our psyche. I don't know any therapist who can say, I have a work-life balance and I just I'm clapping my hands if you're listening to the audio. When I leave, it's done and I don't take it home with me. I don't know many therapists who that is a possibility for. I've met a couple and I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for them to have that ability, but I think the therapists that struggle with burnout, that struggle with this, that we are really struggling with this, with taking on too much. And I think what that translates into a lot of times is those mental health symptoms. And I think a lot of time burnout can be masked depression, or both are existing together. And it follows you everywhere, just like depression does. And I think if you are in the throes of depression, certainly listen back to that episode just to know that there's treatment, that there are ways to help you recover from that. And you need support and to reach out for that support, because it can feel like I shouldn't need this. I feel shame about needing this, or the work has caused this in me and I don't feel like I'm a good therapist or I'm a good person anymore. And I think that is burnout. That is the work that has colored that and has caused these other symptoms for you likely. And I think we can't forget about anxiety, the dread into going into two sessions, your heart racing. I talk frequently about sitting in my car one day before a day of sessions, and my body did not want to get out of the car. I really had to outwardly talk to myself. Get your foot out of the car. We can do this, one foot in front of the other, one session at a time. And that's how I got through that day. But at that time, I was dealing with a lot of symptoms, with feeling like hypervigilant when my office door would open. And just that feeling of, I don't know what this client is going to bring into session today. I don't know if I can bear it. one today or one more session. A lot of people talk with me about irritability and mood swings, feeling like having that short fuse and that anger and resentment that pops up that are some of our hallmark signs of burnout. Sleep disruption is huge. And feeling of this one, I feel like I'm discovering more and more as I talk to therapists is, and this is a symptom of depression, of feeling like activities that you previously enjoyed, you don't enjoy anymore, or just a loss of joy. Like what do I even like anymore? What hobbies do I enjoy? I don't know. Like I did sewing like 10, 15 years ago, but then I had kids and I used to like taking this dance class 10 or 15 years ago, but maybe I'll like that. Um, like hanging out with friends. Like I don't really have many friends anymore because I just work and have a family. Those are the things that I'm talking about. We need to kind of rediscover what we like again, rediscover what makes us light up again. Because I think a lot of people talk to me about, especially that loss of joy. So I want to just add a little distinction to burnout and depression. So burnout, as the ICD says, is work specific. They often ease when you step away from the work. And that is not the experience I think many therapists talk about in therapist burnout. They tell me I take a vacation and I go back to work and it doesn't help. So people saying, just take some time off, maybe you need a breather or maybe fix their case. And like you are drowning. It just falls so flat. And I think going back to the mismanaged stress of the job makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. Or for me with my back, like I should have done something differently when there's nothing more that you could have done. There's nothing more that you can do. So I think a first step into getting some healing is one, stop doing so much. And that will start to build the margin in to start to untangle this. I liken this to when I did trauma work. Many clients coming in wanted, I want to start doing the trauma work right now, right now, right now. I want to heal from this trauma right now, Jen. And I had to say, small moves. First, we need to figure out like what are the biggest things. And for our EMDR therapists, we do the first, the worst, most recent. That's a good rule of thumb that maybe you want to target down the road. But we couldn't get to that before your nervous system was regulated, before you had some safety, and before I knew that if we were walking down that road together, that I felt like as your guide, your EMDR therapist, that we had some solid skills to do that. That you had space, that you felt like your hair wasn't on fire running from thing to the next. So thinking of like building margin, building safety, that is a task. And so I just have you think right now, what is one small way that you can build safety in your body this week? What is one thing that you could take away if you are in burnout? And if you were in post burnout, maybe you're kind of figuring out like, okay, yeah, I don't feel like my hair is on fire, or maybe I'm edging there. Maybe it's thinking about like, do I need an assessment for mental health symptoms? Do I need to consult my doctor or my own therapist and get some support with all of this? So I just have you think of all of that and just starting with like small moves, small pieces of safety to help be able to listen more to what is coming up for you. So share this with a therapist friend, and hopefully this message will grow. This podcast will grow. And I will talk with you all next week. And one way that you can communicate more with me is on my therapist pen pal list. So if you have a therapist friend, share this and then tell them like, hey, she has a link for this email list where she sends you tips and stories and ways that you can recover and ways that you can work with me. So those are coming. I don't really have lots of ways to work with me at the current moment, but I am working on a closure course and consulting for those of you that want to close your practice. So that is coming shortly. And then hopefully more group offerings in 2026. All right. Thanks. Have a good one.